Welcome back to the channel, gassy people. Today, I'm going to be talking about my newfound interest. This is my newfound obsession, and it's this new show on HBO Max titled Neighbors. There's only 4 episodes out at the time of me recording this. When I tell you it is so absurdly and insanely fucking funny, I genuinely mean that with all of my heart. I'm not joking, I'm not kidding, I'm not like exaggerating. I was in like literal almost tears from laughing at this show. And you know, it's probably not for everyone, but I just think it's insane that I have not seen any other commentary YouTubers talking about this. I tried looking up Neighbors commentary, Neighbors videos, and I just kept getting trailers and clips from the show. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. So I took it upon myself to talk about this show today because I thought it's like the epitome of a masterpiece in documentary television, and I think we need to be talking about it. I originally wasn't going to watch this show, but I had seen it pop up and it was recommended to me after I had watched a true crime show, and I figured it was something similar to Netflix's true crime thing that I think it's called Neighbors, or like something, my Roommate from Hell, something like that. That show on Netflix has me genuinely terrified that a squatter is gonna come take up housing in my residence. They're gonna have a piece of mail delivered to my address and then be like, I'm here, and I legally can't move them out or do anything to, to get them out of my home. That's neither here nor there. I started watching the show thinking it was going to be a true crime type of documentary. It is not. It's a documentary, but it's dealing with neighbors and the absurd shit that comes with having neighbors. But the premise for this show is essentially that you have 2 sets of disputing neighbors that are somewhere in the continental United States. 2 sets of neighbors, right? And these 2 sets of neighbors are just sharing their grievances with one another, and the beef they have they've just made up themselves in their heads, like that they have with one another. And that's basically it. And I know that sounds so insanely simple and boring, but when I tell you it is comedy gold, it is just genius. I genuinely mean it. It's so fucking chaotic and outlandish. Obviously, with documentaries and reality TV shows, they are picking the most insane people in general, but it like genuinely, these people, I'm like, you can't believe that these people actually exist and live in this world, but they do. They do, for sure. But today I'm going to be specifically talking about episode 2 of the documentary, and it's just titled The Farm. That sums it up, just the farm. But the 2 locations we're in are Indiana and Pennsylvania, respectively. But in Indiana, you have Trevor, who is a young new homesteader living with his grandmother on his grandmother's property. And you have Daryl, who is a retiree who hates Trevor's farm with every fiber of his soul and entire being. Across the way in Pennsylvania, you have Jean, the neighborhood cat lady who feeds all the stray cats, and Maurice, who doesn't like the cats crowding his space, and he doesn't like that Jean feeds the stray cats and they all come into his yard. And there you have our 2 duos for the episode. Once you're introduced to the duos that we're gonna be seeing in this episode, I thought this was so fucking funny. The first immediate cut is to Daryl and his husband in a hot tub in their house. They have the overhead light on, the fans going. This shit is on carpet. They have a hot tub in their home on carpet. Are we insane? Are we fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I like saw that and was like, what are we getting into? What is this? I was like looking around the living room. I'm all alone going, hot tub on carpet? What? Anyway, I thought that was so fucking insane. I was like, the audacity of elderly people to do shit like this. But then we see that they're in their dining room. Daryl's bragging about being on the front page of the newspaper because he hates the farm, and he's like complained so much about it that like he made the front page. I don't even know what you want to call it. It's got like livestock animals in the suburbs of Indiana with a bunch of retirees around in the neighborhood. But Daryl has been raising this issue of this homestead for ages now to this fucking board of committee members. I don't know what board it is. I don't know if it's for the town or the neighborhood or what, but like, he is diligently going to these people and being like, I hate these fucking animals. They need to get out of my neighborhood. Dear God, get them out. And he also does this bit where he's like talking to the cameraman about how every morning he has to go and get his paper. He has to cover his nose and like bend down to get the paper. And I just think that's so fucking funny because he's like, it's just the smell. The smell is so bad. We have to cover our noses, right?
It's like I gotta put my hand over my nose and reach down to get the newspaper.
And it's like, well, yeah, animals smell like dookie. I don't know what to tell you. And Daryl also relays how Trevor at one point came over to him and was like, do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with my farm or whatever? And Daryl's like, yeah, I have a problem. I don't want to live on a fucking farm. I didn't sign up to retire on farmland. I'm in the suburbs of Indiana. We are in the suburbs of Indiana and you were making a homestead on your grandmother's property. Yeah, I have an issue. Meanwhile, you have Trevor, who is just so like nonchalant about all of this. He's just like, well, it's my right to have a farm and to be on this land and to have farmland. And he's like kind of also indifferent to everything, or like to his neighbors' transgressions with it and like their grievances with it. And he's just like always shrugging his shoulders and like they're just like haters, man. They're just a bunch of haters and oldies who like don't like progress, and they don't like young people doing young people things.
Until they decided to have problems with me about my lifestyle.
And he just doesn't really see why there's an issue in the first place with having goats and pigs and chickens and a garden, which, you know, the garden's whatever, but all of this shit like in his grandmother's yard. And he paints it as he's just providing for his family. His family consists of his grandmother, him, and his wife, who was pregnant, by the way. And he says that it's because of the pandemic. I didn't say this, but the episode takes place in like 2023, I wanna say. So yeah, we're still in the pandemic kind of thing. And so he's like, that's one of his reasonings for wanting to have the homestead in the suburbs. And it's just as like a precautionary thing. He's like, with the pandemic, you just never know what's gonna happen, man. Kind of like almost doomsday apocalyptic kind of mindset a little bit. His wife is talking about being pregnant. They're talking about how she had to take a test to see if she was pregnant or whatever. And Trevor asks his grandma, how did they figure out if you were pregnant back in the day? And she says this.
They'd shoot your urine into a rabbit, and if it died, then you were pregnant.
I don't know either, man, but this shit is frying me. I don't know what we're doing. What timeline are we living in right now? But anyway, we find out that Trevor actually moved back in with his grandma. His grandma raised him for several years of his life, and he moved away for a few years, but now he's back living with her. And seeing this play out in real time, it like leads Daryl and his husband to believe that Trevor is either taking advantage of his grandma, he's extorting her for money and like taking all of her money, and he's just trashing her place, and that she's just let the place go, essentially. That they're like, she used to have such a beautiful home and now it just looks like garbage outside and it just smells like shit all the time. Which, like, yeah, livestock animals, pigs don't smell good. I don't know any livestock animal, or frankly, really any animal that just smells like roses and daisies all the time. And Daryl and his husband are just like, she's just not the same person. She's not the woman we knew and we've known as our neighbor. She's just not the same person.
She's not the same person anymore.
And then it cuts to the grandma, and she's like, yeah, I've had people call and ask if I'm like mentally stable and if I know what my grandson's doing. And she's like, just because like, I guess just outside it just looks so bad that everyone wanted to know if I was just mentally stable and taking care of myself. And it's like, huh? Which, like, I understand. I know I've said it a few times now. I know farm animals are not going to be, like, aesthetic by any means. Really, no source of, like, that type of lifestyle is going to be, like, aesthetic. Farmers will tell you that all the time. But on the other hand, I kind of see where Daryl and his husband and the other neighbors are kind of coming from. It low-key does just look like we have shit piling up everywhere. There are ways to make the homesteading and farming or whatever look somewhat decent without looking like we have a landfill in our front yard. I get goats need structures and things to climb on, and it's gonna get dirty. But like, we can be a little cleanly, you know? We can like jimmy rig some things to look kind of nice, a little bit at least. So Trevor's resolution to get all of this resolved is to just get the land and the property, his grandmother's property, mind you. He doesn't even own the land. His idea is to get the land rezoned so that he can get more animals to live on the property and to expand his little homesteading farm. Which, sure, I guess, let's just have a farm in the suburbs instead of just moving on to farmland property out in the middle of nowhere where you're not bothering anyone. I know that's kind of like a revolutionary idea, but let's think on it, Trevor. Maybe don't burden your grandmother with this, you know? And also, this is a side note, but every time they cut to Daryl and his husband in their home, they're in a different location in the house, and it's just the most extravagant, lavish setup you have ever seen in your life. Props to them. They have put the money into that fucking house. So then we move on to Pennsylvania. With this set of neighbors, we learn that Maurice is a first-time homeowner, and he's very proud of this home, and he is very excited to grow his family and to build a life with them in this home. home. We learn that he didn't really have a lot growing up, and so having a home of his own is just something that he's very prideful of and proud that he was able to accomplish. But at the same time, he feels like he can't maintain that with Jean living next door to him, her always feeding the stray cats. And Jean is like, no, I told him before he even moved in that, like, I feed cats. These strays around here, I'm the one that feeds them. They get fed by me. They are not going away.
I told Maurice when he was first looking at this house that there was these cats here. And you could see the shelters. They were here. It was plain, here on the lawn.
And Maurice is like, I mean, yeah, but like, I had no idea there was gonna be this damn many stray cats, you know? But Jean is known in the neighborhood as being like the cat lady. She's the neighborhood cat lady. They interview another neighbor who's lived there his entire life, and he's like, yeah, Jean's the cat lady. Smells awful 24/7. You can smell everything 4 or 5 houses down, man.
I can smell the gas shit now.
It permeates the air, I guess. And Maurice and his wife are like, yeah, the cats shit and piss in our yard all the time. They're always here, and it smells fucking awful, and our daughter can't play in her yard. She only has the front yard, and she can't play with it because it's just riddled with cat feces. So this 4-year-old child, her entire life, has never been able to play in her front yard because of all the stray cats and like piss and shit that's everywhere. And I guess at one point in time, Maurice was finally just so fed up with all the cats that he, according to Jean, went berserk and ended up destroying some of her cat houses that she has outside, which, by the way, she says that this cat house was worth $1,000 fucking dollars. $1,000 cat house? It doesn't make any sense because if you look at the panning shots they show around her home currently, all of the like cat houses are like planks of plywood and boards just like propped up against the brick exterior of her home. There's no like, there's like one heated cat house or whatever in the back, and that's the only one. And like, once again, I understand we wanna save the stray cats, we wanna feed them, we wanna help them, get them through winter. I get that. I fully commend anyone who does that. I've fed stray cats in our apartments before, and you know, they're cute to look at and everything. If we are claiming we are putting thousands of dollars into like home and shelters for these cats, I'm not seeing it. Like, clearly she's putting money and time and effort into this endeavor. Why are we making it look like a fucking shithole outside? Why are we making it look trashy and like it's just garbage collecting in our yards? Why? But because Maurice tried to destroy one of her cat houses, Jean tried taking him to criminal court.
Tried to file criminal charges, but they wouldn't let me do that.
The criminal court in the United States of America for destroying one of her cat houses. Which this didn't happen because the courts were like, that's not a criminal offense. No. So she ended up filing a civil lawsuit, which they are now currently in, and they're still arguing over. And Jean's like, I mean, I don't understand why he's so upset. I don't get why he's so upset. It's just 9 freaking cats. He's freaking out over 9 little cats. Jean, hun, that ain't the issue here, man. We are missing. The issue is just going over our heads, apparently. Maybe she's being obtuse in general, on purpose. Who's to say? But in both of these cases, it seems like it's just an instance of people not realizing that they can do the things they want while making it not look like they live in a shithole. Because if you're putting this much money, homesteading is not a like cheap endeavor, and neither is taking care of stray animals. So clearly we are putting money into these endeavors. Why do we not want it to look somewhat nice? Not saying it has to look like Daryl's house by any means, but come on, Jean, you're putting pieces of plywood, pieces of wood, a little lean-to up against your house to be a cat house. I digress though. I hope I'm not coming across as like mean, but like, I can say that I grew up in a white trash family, trust me, but we don't have to do that, you know? We can make things look a little nice sometimes, even on a limited budget. They got cute shit at Dollar General for a reason. But anyway, back in Indiana, Trevor is talking about how he wanted to leave his grandma's house, and so he ended up dating this girl and left for a few years, and it's just a very awkward conversation. But he's like talking about how his ex did OnlyFans, which I don't think anyone cares if you do that, but he kind of gets like quiet about it, and he's like, she partook in OnlyFans.
And she did OnlyFans and stuff like that.
He's also sitting crisscross applesauce on the bed with his feet out. I just thought that was important to know. But he goes, he gets like real quiet, and there's like a moment of silence where he doesn't say anything, and he's just like, I also partook in it a little bit. He doesn't elaborate. He just says he partook in it. And he was like, but man, it was great and everything. We'd go on all these vacations. We'd have all this money. And we'd be on these yacht boat parties in Miami. And he's bragging about the girls that were there who were also, I guess, OnlyFans gals. And he goes, they'd like go downstairs and film stuff and you'd be able to go and watch. And he's like, and you could hook up with literally any girl with no issue. They'd come up to you and be like, let's fuck. And he'd be like, I don't even know you, man, but sure. And he's like, just got this shit-eating grin on his face. And you can tell he's like living through all the lives he lived on these Miami yacht party boats. And he's just going on and on about this. And you don't realize until they cut to it that his wife is literally right outside the door listening to everything.
It's like, how often do you go on a blind date? You meet the girl and she's like, all right, cool, let's fuck. You're like, wait.
His pregnant wife is outside, literally standing outside the door like some fucking, it's a horror movie shot, and she's in the shadows, no lights on, and she clears her throat to interrupt him, and he's now sprawled out on the bed with his feet so close to the camera, way close, his dirty feet closer to the camera than anyone should have their feet to a camera, and he's like completely forgotten she exists because he was so enthralled with his memories of all these women on the yacht party that he was hooking up with, and he's just like, oh, hun, you tired? You tired, hun? And it just cuts to her again, all grudge creature style in the corner of the hallway, and she's like, no, bitch, I'm fucking annoyed. Which, yeah. And Trevor's just like, guess we're done here. Let's cut it.
All right, I'm ready to wrap up.
Fuck, man, what a... can I say what a piece of shit? I don't know how you'd be like, no, man, all these girls, all these women I used to bang and fuck like no other. God, it was so good. Oh my God, before I met my fucking wife and got trapped, man, this shit was so good. You don't even understand. Insane thing to be talking about and discussing with your wife in the next room. But back in Pennsylvania, we see Maurice in his house, and he's like, yeah, she does this meditation shit next to us, so you can hear the music coming through quite a bit through the wall, because I guess they share a wall, I think, or something like that. So he has to deal with loud music and things on top of all the cat shit drama. But we see that Jean's like meditation and stuff, she's this is where I'm like, they know how to pick these people. They know what they're looking for. I know it's all sensationalized to a degree, but I don't think this is fake. But she's praying in front of the Shroud of Turin. Basically, the Shroud of Turin is like this image of Jesus from like his sweat, the cloth that supposedly covered his face in the tomb where he died or whatever. Not the tomb where he died, but the tomb where he was buried, I guess. It's like the cloth that covered his face, so it's like the sweat and dirt imprints on it that make his face, it's the Shroud of Turin. But Jean's like, it's the image of Jesus, and the only way you can view it is if you put 3D glasses on.
You have to use 3D glasses.
And you view it on the TV. When I heard this, I think my soul left my body, and like it just like I felt myself lift from my body, and I don't even know what happened. I like disassociated to such a core degree that I was like, this cannot be fucking real. But she makes the crew members put on their 3D glasses and stuff, and they're all just sitting there. They're all sitting there looking at the Shroud of Turin on like a crackly TV screen, and she's like, do you see it? That's Jesus. That's his sweat, and that's his image. And the crew's like, yeah, sure. And I'm not trying to knock anyone's religious beliefs by any means. I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic and Baptist as well. So like I'm in the thick of it. I think it is so fucking funny to think that the Shroud of Turin, the only way that you can view this supposedly ancient piece of cloth, the only way that you can view Jesus's sweat imprint is through 3D glasses on a fucking television screen. I feel like Cynthia Erivo right now when she's like tapping her head, but like the concept of having to view the Shroud of Turin through 3D glasses is so fucking funny to me. I don't even know what else to say about that. So on top of the Shroud of Turin thing with the glasses, we also find out that Jean had a out-of-body experience from having pneumonia.
People have a near-death or an out-of-body experience. It brings people closer to their spirituality. That's what happened to me.
She was hospitalized for a week, but during that time, she describes like she was like astral projected out of her body.
And it pulled me up out of my body.
By an angelic figure. And she says that this angelic figure took her past civilizations and the ancient civilizations civilizations.
I would visit ancient civilization.
There's no context. She doesn't provide any context as to whether it was like an Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern, any past civilization, or just like any. It's just up to interpretation of the audience, I guess. After she witnesses all these things, she's thrown back into her corporeal body, and she wakes up and she's like, I have found Jesus Christ again. But this experience, she says, gave her like an epiphany into the spiritual realm, and she's like privy to all this information that us mere mortals are not privy to, and we have no idea like what it is. So she's like, when you know the truth, when you know the true meaning of everything, you want to just shout it from the rooftops. You want to tell everyone about it.
It changed me. Once you figure out that the spiritual world is real, you want to shout it from the rooftops. You want to tell everybody. That's what this is about. I really want to tell everybody.
So she developed this short film as a way to talk about, I guess, her spiritual knowings. I guess won a ton of awards, and she has them all displayed on her wall and everything. And she's working on another one, I guess, that details the missing 18 years of Jesus Christ, because I guess we don't know what happened for a span of 18 years with him, apparently. And she goes into this tangent about how she wants Mel Gibson specifically to like star in it. She wants Mel Gibson in it, or to have his little paws on it in some way, and that she's trying to get his attention. She emails him and messages him all the time, but there's also another director that she wants to get in contact with, and so her manager is involved to help with that as well, to help her get in contact with this director. Which also, if you didn't know, her manager happens to be the co-founder of this business called the Quantum Healing Center, which if you're like me and you're like, what the fuck is the Quantum Healing Center? Same, brother. I had no idea. But her manager, Frederick, describes it.
Welcome to the Quantum Healing Room, featuring the Energy Enhancement System. This system creates a hyper healthy energy field that allows your body to literally charge at the cellular level.
Hearing that first time around, I'm still like, I don't know what the fuck this is. What are you talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you guys mean? I feel like when I hear anything about this shit, anything related to like, no, you just don't understand the complexity. It's like, yeah, because it sounds like bullshit. It sounds like a load of crock. But anyway, literally whatever the energy enhancement system, it basically means that you just sit in a room, in a semi-dark room with some windows, some light, in recliners with a bunch of monitors and screens, and it just scrolls through a bunch of static waves of various colors. That's it. That's all. That's the therapy. That's what it does. There's no noise except for the hum of these monitors. But Frederick describes the supposed benefits of sitting in this room of static monitors, which allegedly and supposedly, according to Frederick, it has reversed cancer. What cancer he specifically does not say, obviously. Gives stroke victims mobility again, and helps with autism. In what capacity, I don't know. He does not say. They do not give us that information. So it essentially it's a cure-all for everything across the board. Whatever you can think of, the monitors will heal you. And of course, also, it's $126 a session. What else would it be? So I feel like I'm going insane. I feel at this point in time in the episode, I'm like, okay, we know what we're dealing with now. You hear all of this and you're like, okay, I see the type of individuals we are getting ourselves involved with. All right. So in Indiana, Daryl and his husband are talking about how hard they've worked for their home and how much time and energy and effort they've put into it, and that they have a home that's arguably nicer than what a majority of their family members have, which I agree. It seems like they've put quite a bit of money into this. This shit is lavish. But they're talking about how it's their retirement home.
Our retirement house.
This is our retirement. You want to enjoy it.
This will come up later. The retirement home portion, that will come up again. Remember that. They're talking about how it's their retirement home, and that, you know, when you are settling down somewhere and you want to enjoy your retirement years, you don't want to farm to disrupt that. You want to enjoy the neighborhood. And they're talking about how they don't want it. None of the other older people in the neighborhood want it. And they show that this other neighbor that has grievances with Trevor. And Trevor immediately, after like the neighbor confronts him or whatever, he's just like, They haven't seen fucking crazy yet. They don't know mad yet. I'm gonna show them. If they think this is mad, you just wait, you son of a bitch.
Wait till you fucking see mad, then you're gonna think, wow, he's fucking crazy. Yeah, because when I get mad, I get fucking crazy, dude.
And he says that if this were the Wild West, there'd be nothing from stopping him going over there and shooting the old people.
What would stop me from going over there and... Problem solved, buddy.
And he puts his gun in his pants, in the back of his pants, you know, conceal and carry or whatever, and he goes, a well-armed society is a polite society. That's how I feel. This is how I feel. Like, hello? Hello?
A well-armed society is a polite society.
I think old people, I love old people to death, but I think they are fucking annoying as hell, too, Trevor. At times they can be crotchety. I can be crotchety, but old people especially, man, they can be fucking crotchety. But we don't need to go fucking gutting them down in their homes, Trevor. Daryl, it takes this to heart, and he's like, he's unpredictable, so I gotta prepare myself. You don't know what Trevor's gonna do.
Don't know what to expect out of him.
So his solution, Daryl's big solution, is to take a self-defense karate class. And he just looks so ridiculous in his karate getup. But what makes it even more hilarious is his instructor is another geriatric old man. His name's Eddie. Our man Eddie, another geriatric man in karate getup. And he starts speaking in Japanese to Daryl. And Daryl just has this look on his face, like he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And the whole thing is just, this whole sequence is just so fucking funny because it's just two old decrepit men and they're pretending to fight one another, and it's just all very reminiscent of Napoleon Dynamite, and I mean that with so much sincerity. That is exactly what it is.
Come on, kick me. Okay, do it again. Do it again.
And so like they do their back and forth. Daryl's learning a thing or two from Eddie, and they're like pretending to choke each other and gouge each other's eyes out. And Daryl's like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. And Eddie ends the session with Daryl saying, shut him down one time, he'll be shut down forever.
If you shut him down one time, he'll be shut down forever.
And Daryl's like, oh my God, yeah. Shut him down? Shut him down. With what? Are you gonna poke his eyes out? You're gonna, oh. Daryl, you were 2 feet tall. I'm a short man, but I would argue Daryl's probably shorter than I am. Oh, and Gene and Maurice, they're going on Judge Judy. Cause what else would be happening? Let's add Judge Judy as well. Miss Judy into the mix.
Prayers answered, prayers answered, prayers answered.
So they're going on Judge Judy. And Gene is convinced that Judge Judy is going to have her back because she's like a well-known defender of animals and lover of cats, I guess. And we go to Jean's friend's house because this friend is going with her to LA. And the first introduction we have of her friend is this.
Judy. That's Judge Judy. That's Judge Judy.
And she goes, you can't take me anywhere. And they're like just hooting and hollering over this. And they're like, we're gonna represent all the cat ladies and all the cat lovers out there. But we're gonna be respectful and cordial. And we hope she tells Maurice he's a liar.
And she'll say stuff like, you're a liar.
We're not gonna sass her.
Okay.
And then Jean also tells Frederick that she's going to LA and they're gonna try and set up something with the director that she had talked about earlier so she can pitch her Mel Gibson Jesus Christ movie, The Missing 18 Years, to him. So also, you know how I mentioned earlier, like 2 minutes ago, that Daryl and his husband were talking about this being their retirement home? They have put so much time, money, and effort into their retirement home. They don't want to leave. That's why they want the farm out, because this is their retirement era and they want to live it and enjoy it comfortably. Yeah, they invited a property assessor, Mr. Jeff, to evaluate their property for some fucking reason. I don't know why. He's like, yeah, so this property here, the farm back here, and he's like, you know, pointing to it and shit in the distance. It does unfortunately affect the view of your property, amounting to, get ready for this number, amounting to the value of $102,000.
Your neighbor right now is affecting your property value by about $102,000.
And Daryl is like, oh my fucking God, you gotta be kidding me. He's like that video of The Tiger King going, I am never going to financially recover from this.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
I will never understand old people when it comes to the fucking view of their neighborhood. Not even their house alone, just the entire neighborhood as a whole. I get not wanting to look at a bunch of shit in someone's yard, but that's their yard. They can do it. That's their fucking property. If they want to have a fucking trash pile, a mound of baby diapers in their front yard, they can do it. That's their property. They can do whatever the fuck they want. It might be an eyesore, but it's their yard. They pay taxes just like you do, Daryl. They can have that shit there. Much as you don't like it, as much as I might not like it, they can do it. And another thing, another grievance I have with fucking old people, I don't understand old people and wanting to hoard all of their wealth in their last years and the obsession with their property value. Daryl, you and your husband both literally said this was your retirement property. You are retiring. You are spending the rest of your days here. What the fuck does it matter if the value of the property goes down? Why are you worried about the potential value if you sold it? You're not selling it. And naturally, after hearing this, Daryl's like, oh my fuck, I need to call everybody I know. I need to call everyone I fucking know to side with me and get this shit shut down. And they need to come to the meeting so he doesn't get an exemption for more fucking animals. And so he's on the phone with everyone and going, and he also says at one point, yeah, I think he's an adopted grandson.
He's an adopted grandson is what we heard.
But what the fuck does that have to do with anything, Daryl? What does that have to do with literally anything? In California, at the Judge Judy showing, the cameramen can't get into the facility to see the show, and they're getting harassed by security for some reason immediately. I don't know, man. But they can't get into the show. But to no one's surprise, Maurice and his wife won. They end up owing Gene a whopping 50 cents, and Gene owes them like $2,000 or some shit. It's an insane amount, sure, but like they're like celebrating. They're like, woo, we won. I can't believe we won. And it cuts to Jean and her friend in the car. Total silence. They are not speaking. And the producer is like egging them on and like, so what happened? Guys, what happened? We weren't there. What happened during it? And they are completely ignoring him. They are not talking about it whatsoever. Instead, Gene's like, I'm meeting with the producer of my new movie. And they're walking and talking, but it doesn't really seem like this producer's that interested in it. It almost seems like he just agreed because he was going to be on TV kind of thing. I don't know. But that's just the vibes I'm getting. But he's like kind of agreeing with her, kind of not. But Gene's like, it's gonna be this big episodic thing. Like, it's not just one movie. This is multiple episodes. I'm talking 8 to 10 episodes a season. And she ends her pitch to him with, I'm gonna leave you with a little hint of the last episode. He falls in love.
Last episode, I'll just give you a little hint. He falls in love.
At this point, why the hell not? Jesus in love, I'm here for it. And she's like, so do you want to hear more? After she does that little pitch to him, and the guy's like, not right now. There's only so much I can take in my brain. We'll have to save it for later.
No, I don't think I know. Just because there's only so much I can take in my brain.
Which is so funny. That is so funny. But back at the car with the other camera guys or whatever, the friend is like, oh my God, it was so bad. Judge Judy hated her from the get-go.
Judge Judy ate her for fucking lunch. It was so bad.
Judy tore her a new one. Oh my God. And she's just like gossiping about Jean to her and how she's like, Jean backs herself into a corner and she just doesn't know what to do. And then back at the hotel, they're talking about how exciting it is that the producer wants to pick up the 18 Missing Years of Jesus. And they're so excited for it. And the friend's like, so if you had to like cast someone as Jesus, who would you cast? I think Idris Elba would be a good pick. And she's like, if Idris Elba was Jesus, everything would be good in it. And she's like all giggling and smiling.
If Idris Elba was Jesus, everything would be good.
And Jean goes, I don't think we're having a black Jesus.
I'm not having a black Jesus. We're gonna have classical Jesus.
And her friend is like, no, but like, Jesus wasn't white, so, Idris Elba would be like a good option, he'd be great, he's a great actor and everything. And Jean goes, I'm not having a black Jesus, we're having classical Jesus.
Okay.
No, Gene, no. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Gene's issues with Maurice and his family might be a little deeper than we initially thought. I'll give you a hint related to a word that begins with R and ends in ism. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Gene's issues with Maurice doesn't just stem from his issue with the cats. I think that's a safe limb to jump out on, to leap on, to dive from, to hang off of. But in Indiana, they're at the town meeting or whatever, and all the fucking old farts are there to back up Daryl and his husband. They're there to go against Trevor, and Trevor gets up to say his testimony, which is essentially, I don't live in town. I live in the suburbs outside of town, still in a residential area, but they're in the suburbs outside of the town. So therefore, I technically don't have to abide by the laws of the town.
If I lived in town, I don't live in town, I live outside of town in a rural residential area.
And he's like, so I technically should be getting an exemption for this. And the meeting members are like, it says here that this is your relative's property. It's not your property, which honestly, they kind of make a good point, because it's like, dude, are you paying any of these bills? Are you just paying for the homestead, or is grandma forking out her retirement, her 401k to pay all this shit? I get your wife's pregnant and she probably isn't working, but like, do you? We don't know. We never see him working. We don't know if he has a job. He just goes and picks shit up, and then he comes home and drags it onto the yard. But anyway, the grandma's like, no, I back him up. He lives with me. I'm okay with it. I'm all for it. I'm 100% mentally sane and sound, and I approve of him doing this. But all the neighborhood elderly people are saying their piece with it, and they're giving their testimonies. And then, of course, you have the fucking property value guy. He's like, the property value is gonna go down. What are we gonna do if that happens? What the fuck are we gonna do if the fucking property value goes down? I know we're all dead in 5 years, but what the fuck are we gonna do about it? I know. Get rid of it. Donate it. I don't know, because clearly you're not giving it to your families. What, I just don't, are you sleeping on it? Are you putting it in your pillows at night and sleeping on all your coins? Once you hit a certain age, all these people turn into Scrooge. I don't know, I could rant about that fucking all day. And yes, it's because I'm jealous and I'm envious. I don't have that wealth or that money. And I probably never will in my lifetime. I don't know any Gen Z person who is going to have it. So there, I'm gonna be mad about it. Anyway, Daryl and all the other elderly people get their way and the case is dismissed. And then over in Pennsylvania, with their issues resolved, Maurice is building a pergola. I don't know what that is. I had to look it up. But he's building this to hopefully keep the cats out. But Jean isn't happy about it, of course. And she's like, a fence and some wood isn't gonna keep the cats out. I'm gonna get 500 more. And last but not least, Daryl made the front page of the newspaper again. Congrats, Daryl. So in conclusion, no conclusions are ever actually made on this show. These episodes end kind of open-ended, and it's kind of up in the air on like if things really got resolved or if they didn't, but there's no real resolutions to the neighbors and their disputes. But anyway, that kind of turned into angry ranting a little bit there, just because that's what I tend to do. I get mad about a lot of things, and I got a lot of rage to let out. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like me to talk about any of the other episodes of Neighbors, just feel free to comment down below and I'll respond. Maybe I'll do a video. As always, stay gassy, everybody. Bye.
You gotta fight for your right.